relationships have always been very important to you. And again, if you look back at this time, it's hard to believe that you could be sat there one night and you get a phone call from a West Bromwich Albion director. Is it Brian Boundy calls you up and says, listen, we want to change our manager.
Yeah.
Can you suggest anyone?
Yeah, what happened there? I mean, that happened a lot in those days, actually, journalists tapping up, because we're all trusted. You have to just sidetracking for a moment, if I may, you have to understand that one of the biggest changes was that in those days, there were about 12
Yes.
reporters. There was the national newspapers had regional football reporters. There was the Press Association, Extel, local newspapers, one local radio station, if there was one then, I can't remember, but certainly there was the BBC, and that was it. And you were trusted. So you knew what you could report on, you knew what you couldn't. I remember Brian Clough saying that, he'd give us all stories and headlines and everything else, and then he'd say, right, put your microphone down, put your camera away, put your pens down, we're going out for a drink. And that would be it. What stayed on tour happened on tour, stayed on tour. So Brian Baldy rings me, knowing that I'm not going to spill the beans, and said, Bert Millerchip, our chairman, is the chairman of the Football Association and can't be seen to poach anyone. Who would you suggest? So I said, well, I'll tell you what. I think John Bond at Norwich City would be brilliant for lots of reasons. They're having a great run in Europe, or I can't remember if it was Europe, but it's certainly in the league. He's a charismatic guy. He's terrific. He's just what you want. The media love him, etc., etc. Can you get him? I rang him up. Do you want the job, Bondy? Yeah, love it, mate. Thank you very much. So I rang Boundy back and said he's interested. Anyway, I didn't hear anything for 2 days. And Boundy rings me back, lovely director, and he says, he's turned us over. I said, what do you mean? He said, well, all he's done is double his salary with Arthur South, the chairman at Norwich. Oh, leave me out of it. Anyway, my phone goes, private phone I had then. It's Ron Atkinson, who I'd known as a player manager at Kettering. And he's now manager of my home club, Cambridge United. Bondy's rang me about this job. Yes, Ron. I can't believe you put Bond before me. I said, Ron, I didn't even think about you. Don't make it worse, he says. Now get on the phone, good lad, get on that phone and get hold of Boundy and get me the job, which is what I did. Boundy said, what do you think? I said, I think truly, don't mention I never thought of him because he's gone potty about that. I said, he'd be brilliant. And of course, he came and he was absolutely brilliant. And in fairness to Ron, we're still the closest of friends. And Ron, when he got the job, he met Bert Millerchip in secret at Oxford. He rang me and said, I'm coming to the studio. So I got the first interview as well. There were 1 or 2 times when managers let you down. They promised you the first interview did something. I remember Bert Head at Crystal Palace. When I was at Hayters, I moved Roger Hoy for him from Spurs to Palace, and then he gave it to a bloke from the Daily Mail, which rather made me quite annoyed. But most of the time, the managers were great. And that's how he got into the big time, Big Ron. When he gets a bit uppity with me, he's always taking the mickey. I remind him that a conversation we had before Manchester United playing in Warsaw, in Poland, Legia Warsaw, I think it was, or one of these places. We went for a long walk together. And we were swapping about how I was a rugby first 15 captain at a public school, and the best he ever did was a milk monitor, so comprehensive. So every time he gets a bit uppity and trying to take the mickey, I say to him, not bad for a bloke who's only reached milk monitor status. So we do have a good laugh over that.